Previously on the theme park Evaluator.
Lizzie Parker, it is an incredible day, and you are doing what? I was reading my great-great-great-grandmother Elizabeth's journal again. And on this very day in 1871, she and her best friend went into the city for a band concert in the park. And it turned into a most eventful day. She meets a boy.
In Chicago, 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 my hometown.
Well, hello there.
Hello.
Oh, I'm so sorry about bumping into you. I nearly knocked you off your feet.
Yes, you have. Yes, you did.
May I ask your name?
Elizabeth Parker.
A pleasure to meet you, Elizabeth Parker. My name is Frederick Bailey, and you have the most amazing eyes.
What?
What? May I call on you, Miss Parker?
Why, Mr. Bailey, I hardly know you.
Well, you can start by calling me Frederick.
Elizabeth, there's a fire! My goodness!
Come on, Fred, we gotta go!
Lizzie, you've got to get out of this house and stop dreaming about the 1870s. Oh, let's go into the city and have some fun. You're right, Rita. Let's get out of here. Hit the lights. Let the music move you. Yourself tonight. Come alive. Let the moment take you. Lose control tonight. It's a mad, mad world. Gotta make an escape. In the perfect world when you go away. Hit the lights. Let the music move you. Lose yourself tonight.
All right, Freddie, what's the deal? Why the long face? It's been a really, really messed up week. 7 days of torture, 7 days of bitter. And my girlfriend went and cheated on me. She's a California dime, but it's hard for me to quit her. Man, forget about her. How about me and you? Go hit up the city. All right, I'm gonna have a good time tonight, or my name's not Freddie Bailey, the fourth. Going at it tonight. There's a party on the rooftop, top of the world tonight. And we're dancing on the edge of the Hollywood sign. All right, Nick, where are we going? Club Ignite? Definitely Club Ignite. Woo! Elevate a little higher. Let's throw a party in the sky, yeah, to celebrate. Elevate until we fly, yeah. Don't move your feet until you levitate. Come on, let's elevate. Yeah, what's up, Six Flags? It's Johnny John here, and you've come to the right place. It's the hottest club in the city, and just maybe tonight's the night you'll find that spark to ignite the fire in your heart, right here at Club Ignite. Tonight we're gonna light up the sky. Tonight we're gonna light up the sky. So put your hands up high. Tonight we're gonna light up the sky. Light up the sky. We gonna light up. Yeah, we gonna light up. Tonight we're gonna light up. We gonna light up. Yeah, we gonna light up. Tonight we're gonna light up the sky. Yeah, I see you looking down there, baby. Looking swag. Johnny John sees it all, and it is all here at the Chicago Hotspot. Get it? Hotspot Club Ignite. Woo! Woo! Man, Freddie, yo, I love this place. Dude, tell me about it, Nick. Whoa. Oh, I'm so sorry. I nearly knocked you off your feet.
Yes, you have. You did. Yes, you did.
What's your name?
I'm Lizzie.
Well, I'm Freddie, and you have the most amazing eyes.
What?
What?
Well, it was nice meeting you.
Can I get your number?
Why, sir, I hardly know you. Sure.
Well, that's gonna change. Hey.
When I see your face,
It's not a thing that I would change, 'cause you're amazing, just the way you are. And when you smile, the whole world stops and stares for a while, because you're amazing, just the way you are. Somebody call 911. A dirty fire burning on the dance floor. Whoa. All right, everybody, it's time to start that search for someone special. Everybody in Club Ignite, I need y'all to move. She's fire burning on the dance floor. That little shorty's fire burning on the dance floor. She's fire burning on the dance floor. That little shorty's fire burning on the dance floor. Somebody call 911.
hey, get out of here. Rita, come on. Rita, I just met this guy. Sounds silly, but there was this spark between us. And I gave him my number, but my phone's dead. Again. I guess it just wasn't meant to be. I can't rest, I can't fight. All I need is you, and I love you. Not in this century. He's out there, Lizzie, and you've got to find him.
All right, everybody, it looks like Lizzie and Freddie need a little bit of help finding each other. Do you believe in love? Do you believe in love? All right, then let's put those hearts up just like this. Light up the night, hearts up.
Let me see you put your hearts up. Yeah, let me see you put your hearts up. Yeah, if we give a little love, maybe we can change the world.
All right, everybody, on the count of 3, I want you to yell. Lizzie, turn around. 1, 2, 3. Lizzie, turn around.
We are young, so let's set the world on fire. We can burn right up in the sun.
The time is now, no time to wait. Turn up the love, turn down the hate. Turn up the love, turn down the hate. Love sounds good, let the record play. The time is now, don't need to wait. Turn up the love, speakers vibrate so loud that we can make the world move.
To the right, to the right, to the right, to the right, to the left.
Come on, you know what's next. Come on, kick.
Now kick, now kick, now kick, now kick. Don't walk it by yourself. Don't walk it by yourself. We just wanna see ya shake that.
I'm the theme park evaluator, Joseph Gregory Pagac, and thank you for watching all the way up to now for the 12th episode of the Theme Park Evaluator 6 Flags Great America 2013 season. And as always, I like to do things out of a 4-star rating system, and I have a basis for each one of those 4 stars. One would be for theming, the next for cleanliness, the next for guest relations, and then lastly, entertainment. And I guess we should probably just get the elephant out of the room, or into the room, or Six Flags Great America is a theme park by name. And that basically just means that Six Flags Great America, it has themed lands. You have Carousel Plaza, you have Orleans Place, you have Mardi Gras, you have Yukon Territory, Yankee Harbor, County Fair, Southwest Territory, and Hometown Square. However, besides Hometown Square and Carousel Plaza and the Southwest Territory, for the most part, it's not as themed as it probably could be. Mardi Gras, basically, just think of a, kind of a drunken celebration where you just have a whole bunch of streamers flying around and lots of balloons, but besides that, I don't really see what actually can be truly a theme for Mardi Gras. I don't know why they just didn't keep that area way back when they changed it in 2004 as Orleans Place. I mean, it's kind of, it does seem a little bit more festive than what it was, but besides just adding in kind of a striped and over-the-top, almost like hats that like a jester would wear, it doesn't seem as though it really is all that themed. Mardi Gras, I mean, to me that's, again, it's more about celebrating that the next day is Ash Wednesday, and we really need to pack in all the debauchery that we're going to have, for the remainder of these 40 days worth of whatever you decide that you want to basically give up for Lent. But that's not what Six Flags is about. Six Flags is just, for the most part, about fun, and it's supposed to be about theming, being a theme park. And I just don't really get it with the Mardi Gras area in its theming. Because, I mean, sure, with the Mississippi flowing on down through, New Orleans, there might be some whitewater rapids around, so I guess you could understand there being roaring rapids. Big easy balloons, now that I can understand. That I get, because most likely you're going to have some sort of entertainment that people might want to pay for a balloon ride, and that'd be fun. Then you have King Chaos. Now, King Chaos, it's a fun ride. I absolutely love getting flung upside down in a huge gondola that can seat 40 people. It's great. But with Mardi Gras, I mean, I've never been to an actual Mardi Gras celebration, so is there an actual king that gets crowned of chaos? I mean, I would think that would probably be more like the Joker, but that's definitely not what the ride is themed after. It's not themed after the Joker. It does have some similar colors, purple and green, or is it blue and green? Sorry, I'm color deficient, but I'm gonna say it's purple. And we'll play a video right over here just to make sure. I can't tell. I'm gonna say that's purple, but most likely you folks are gonna say it's blue. I don't know. In Orleans Place, what is Orleans theme? I mean, again, I can understand like a certain architecture we have over closer to Carousel Plaza on the left as you happen to walk from Carousel Plaza into Orleans Place. You got some buildings that kind of look like they may be from like the actual city of Orleans. I just don't really know how Orleans is supposed to look in terms of theme. I mean, I would personally think you would be kind of like with Orleans. I would guess since it's in Louisiana, it'd be kind of more like a bayou type of thing where you might have some sort of, I guess you could say, mystical charm to it. But I've gotten more of a vibe that they're trying to make it into a more modern type of area. And as far as I know, Gotham City is supposed to be based off of New York City, and that's not even close to Louisiana. Same thing with Metropolis for Superman Ultimate Flight. Again, as far as I know, that's supposed to be based off of New York City, so I don't understand how it could be Orleans. Condor, maybe Condors reside in Orleans, I do not know. The only one that really seems kind of in its proper place would happen to be Roulette Dodge, just because it's French. I don't know what it really means, besides that it's bumper cars and that you probably are supposed to be dodging people rather than bumping into them. Maybe it's French for dodgems. I don't know. Again, if you folks happen to know, please tell me. I would love to find out. And that's not a sarcastic love. I actually mean that. As I said before, Batman with the Dark Knight coaster, why is it in Orleans Place? Or, I mean, just why? Again, as far as I know, Gotham City is supposed to be based off of New York City. So, why is it even there? Then we have Yankee Harbor. And Yankee Harbor, I honestly don't know what they're trying to do there anymore. And it's been like that for years. I honestly am not sure. Ever since they put in vertical velocity, it's basically just a steel building that honestly has no theming. There is absolutely none there. Whirligig, I can kind of understand, because that might be a little bit of a representation of some sort of maelstrom that you might have had, or like hurricane, where the winds are just whipping around things, and it made kind of sense because it used to be where vertical velocity was. There used to be a lighthouse, and Whirligig was right next to it. And you could see the Yankee Clipper sailboat. It was very well themed. But again, Yankee Clipper, I mean, I get that. That is fine. Yankee Clipper, Yankee Harbor makes absolute sense. Because, again, you're getting kind of like from a New York coastline, maybe. And Gotham City, I understand. Because, again, Gotham City is supposed to be based off of New York. However, with that addition of vertical velocity, with no theme at all, the place looks very deconstructed, I'll call it. It does not have a set theme, and I wish that it really did. It used to look beautiful, and now, because it's got that big metal kind of eyesore, it's not very conducive to a proper theme. Same thing with the Dark Knight coaster way back over in Orleans Place. It's a big metal box that's just been thrown on to Theatre Royale, or what used to be Theatre Royale. Nothing much there. And again, as you can see with the video, we'll post it, not up there. We'll post it over here. Yeah, over here. There's really nothing on the inside. Nothing. Over to Yukon Territory. Yukon Territory, there used to be a few different things that kind of stood out there. That kind of made it a little bit more thematic than what it used to be. Now you got Loggers Run. That makes a lot of sense because, as far as I know of, in the Yukon, a logging industry is actually pretty. Logging industry is pretty big up there. But then you have the Snowshoe Tap House. That makes sense. Again, because as far as I know, the Yukon is kind of part of that Arctic tundra type of thing. But I'm just basing that off of what I know about geography. I don't really know much. Then you have the Little Dipper. I don't know what that theming is, because it to me seems more like, well, let's just be honest. It came from Kittyland in 2010. Kittyland closed down 2009. Six Flags Great America bought it out, or bought the ride, brought it to Six Flags Great America for the 2010 season. Ultimately, let's just be honest. It feels like that is just its own little separate section of the park that takes up about 1 acre called Kittyland Acre. I'm just being honest with that. I don't think that it really has any other theme besides that of roller coaster preservation, and I'm ultimately happy that we have preserved such a monument to the Chicagoland area, but it doesn't really have anything that makes it scream that it needs to be in Yukon territory. Then you have the Winner's Circle. Again, another thing that was moved in 2010, because in 2009, Space Shuttle America was torn out of Six Flags Great America in order to make way for, well, basically it was an expansion to Hurricane Harbor. I forget what they call the area, because I myself, I haven't been to Hurricane Harbor, to be honest, except for one time way back in 2005 when it first opened. And I came home with a lot of blisters from the sun. I did not wear sunscreen. It was not a good time, and I don't want to do that again. Probably someday I will go and enjoy it again, but probably not for a very, very long time. Just because too many painful memories. It hurt. It really hurt. But again, this is more about Winner's Circle. So after it moved from over by where Victorium is, in Skytruck Tower, in Carousel Plaza, it was brought over to Yukon territory, where it's basically just an almost 3 acre, just barren landscape. I mean, there's some trees, there's a couple of characters from Looney Tunes, but there is no theming. No theming at all, unlike when it used to be Bugs Bunny National Park, or Looney Tunes National Park, or I think it was there was a few different names that it went by, but it's just not themed properly, and it has no theming. It's just, here's some go-karts because we want to make $10 a pop. Then over at County Fair, now, I get it. A county fair, there really is no theming. So I guess I should take back what I was saying a little bit earlier about the county fair not having great theming. I guess it has perfect theming, mainly because county fairs don't have theming, in all truthfulness. I've never been to a county fair where they go something like, and this is the German aspect of our county, yay, or this is the Spanish part of our county. I don't know. It's all just a kind of mishmash, a cornucopia of cultures. So I guess, in all truthfulness, County Fair really is the perfect area, or not the perfect area, but is practically perfectly themed. I mean, you've got, well, the vacant spot for Iron Wolf. I missed that ride. Got Fiddler's Fling. I mean, I guess that could harken back to, like, shows that county fairs would have just to entertain people. You might have a local band come up and show off their skills. You got the American Revolution, which, again, just kind of representing the carnival rides that you would see at a county fair. So, it's not the most technologically advanced of any attraction at Six Flags, but it's fun. It spins you around. Maybe not as fast as I would like, but then again, I am a person who has literally spun Chabasco fast enough that it's broken the door off. So, I probably am not the person to say that it's not spinning fast enough. Then, we have American Eagle, which is a beautiful, beautiful wooden roller coaster that I absolutely love, and Curtis and Summers did a phenomenal job making that wonderful racing out and back coaster. I absolutely love it, and I find that it is still just as classic as it was back in 1981 when it came to the park. I am happy that Kidsopolis is there. It's a great place for the kiddies to go and enjoy themselves. Lots of good things for kids to like there. You got kind of intermediate attractions that they can have fun with. However, I think that American Eagle, its queue worked better when it was inside that tent. It kind of just drew people over there. And now because they have Kidsopolis in there, it's almost a little bit hard to see where American Eagle you enter from, just because it is now more off to the side, and it's just not as iconic of an entrance as what used to be with that big tent. But Kidsopolis, great place for the little ones to go to. I mean, you got planes, you got a little mini drop tower, you've got car ride, you've got miniature teacups, and you've got a kind of observation tower, so it's a great place for the little kids. Then, of course, last year, X-Flight opened, which is a phenomenal Bulgar and Maveyard wing coaster. So, ultimately, I'm not having really any type of issues with County Fair, especially not with Demon. Demon is a phenomenal roller coaster, absolutely love it. It is a classic, and I'm glad that I can still ride one of the last Aero coasters that are still around. Then, of course, we have Buccaneer Battle, and that thing I will complain about. Okay? I hate Buccaneer Battle. But not because of getting wet. I love getting wet. Getting wet is fun. And you definitely get wet on that. That is the one thing that I do not complain about with that ride. What I do complain about, however, is it basically has taken over a spot that two great attractions have been in previously. You had Deja Vu, which was in its spot before, immediately before that is, which was a fantastic Vekoma, I can speak, roller coaster that sadly broke down quite a lot, but if you got to ride it, you know what I'm talking about. Just the sheer feeling of free falling when going down the main drop the first time is phenomenal. But Buccaneer Battle just took that spot away from that ride, and it also took away from what I consider one of the greatest rides of all time, Sky Whirl, a beautiful triple-arm Ferris wheel, but I'm getting off track. What I am actually meaning is Buccaneer Battle. It's one of those rides where, yes, you get soaked. There is no way to not get soaked on that ride. I mean, unless, of course, you're wearing a poncho, but I honestly don't get wearing a poncho on a water ride, because to me, that's the whole point of a water ride, is to get wet. So that is the one thing that I'm not going to complain about that ride. The things that I am going to complain about happens to be the cannons. So the cannons themselves are these crank things that you really have to crank. It's like insane how much you have to like whip those little handles around in order to just get a small stream of water spurting out. You have to be like an Olympian or something in order to keep the handle moving the whole time, squirting 20 feet out in order to hit either another raft or hit somebody on the side of the attraction, because you get close enough that you can hit somebody. It's just whether or not you can crank that thing as hard as you can in order to get it over to the people. That I hate. Then, the other thing that I hate is that you have two sides to the ride. You have the side closest to the entrance, and you have the side closest to the exit. Now, you can't really hit anything because you're facing off. Like, let's say that me facing the camera right now is the direction that the raft is going. This is how you look the whole time. Well, don't I want to hit the thing in front of me or hit targets just off to the sides of what is in front of me? Apparently not. They want you to hit stuff off to the side of the raft. And that just doesn't seem very intuitive to me. I think that at Six Flags over Mid-America, it was done better with Scooby-Doo. Just because in the Spooky Swamp, and that's because you had all these different targets in front of you. And you would literally aim your weapon at these targets, and if you hit those targets, then something would happen. With Buccaneer Battle, if you hit any of the targets, you have to be hitting that with a lot of force. You have to like be cranking like a madman just to get that thing to barely hit. And then, because it only barely hits, it's not going to hit it hard enough in order to get the event to happen. So, I myself, I've been on that attraction maybe a grand total of 10 times. I think I have made just one of those targets actually go off. And I know that I've hit a lot of them. Ugh. Sadly, the Southwest Territory, and I say sadly only because it is not getting as much love as it probably should be getting. Southwest Territory is by far the greatest themed area in Six Flags Great America. Mainly because it hasn't really had anything that is overtly non-Southwest be placed in there. And I don't really know what the Southwest is like, but from what little I do know, it would seem that the kind of makeshift town that they created over in that part of the park is pretty close to the architecture that I've seen in, movies and some history books when I was in high school and a little bit in college. But a couple of things that have bothered me is that they don't make use of certain places much anymore. The Southwest Amphitheater Theater is basically just there for summer shows. And by summer shows, I mean concert series. There could be, concerts. But that's maybe once a month. So once a month, that 2,000-seat auditorium is used. It still has Up the Volcano from Operation Spy Girl, and that ended in 2007. It's 2013 right now. That's 6 years ago. Then, of course, way over on the other side of the Southwest Territory, we still have up the general store where Trailblazer happened to reside in. But all we have is just the support system for the ride. We don't have the ride there anymore. Why not? If all of that has just been left inside, why not just put the ride back up and have another attraction for people to enjoy? Spread out the guests. I doubt that my wish will ever come through to fruition, but that would be nice. Ricochet is a fun ride. It's it's got cow cars, so I guess that kind of makes sense for a Southwest Territory type of thing. The thing that doesn't make sense is that there is a dinosaur at the bottom left of car 9. I sadly have not taken a picture of that. I probably should. But you know what? Dinosaurs are everywhere, so I guess they could be in the Southwest. River Rocker, it's a fun rocking ship type of ride that, as I said, rocks back and forth, and let's be honest, if you're not on the ends, you're not going to get as exciting of a ride. Let's just face that fact. Giant Drop, now, most people would probably be like, well, why would a huge tower be in the Southwest Territory? And basically, that does not really matter to me, but what does matter is that they did try to cover up the reasoning for it, or not cover up the reasoning, but they actually have a reasoning for it, and that's an oil pump. Basically, I guess we're like the pistons or something that go up and down in order to make the oil come out of the ground. Yay! Raging Bull, what do you have to say about a perfect roller coaster? I mean, come on, there's nothing much to say about that. Tabasco, as I had mentioned a little bit earlier, is a teacup type of ride, and I'm one of few people that I know that have actually flipped open the door on the ride, which is not something that is supposed to happen. Because the door closes inward. I busted that thing outward on accident, but I was spinning it so very, very fast that the door flew open. That was in 2003, so no need to worry about that. It's, of course, been fixed, and they increased the brakes on the ride, so you can't go nearly as fast as what I could way back then. Unless you have 4 or 5 people, then you might be able to do it again. But I wouldn't suggest doing it, trying to actively do that. I was not trying to do it. Let's just cut our losses and say that never happened. Okay. Anyways, Viper. Man, I love this wooden roller coaster, and the Philadelphia Toboggan Company did a fantastic job with its creation, or at least with the creation of the vehicles. I'm still not 100% sure whether or not the Philadelphia Toboggan Company did actually design that ride, even though I hear that it was them, but every time that I go to Six Flags website, they say it's not them, so I don't know. So please tell me in the comments below. I would love to get that sorted out. But, again, it just makes sense because you're going into another type of general store. But this one is more about elixirs, selling snake oil. So it's really kind of fun. And there's all sorts of different machinery on the inside and tools that you would probably find on farms in order to get rid of snakes or other type of varmin that you probably don't want. Then, of course, we have Hometown Square. And Hometown Square, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be totally honest here. I miss being able to see the train station. That's one of the that was one of the highlights for me every single time going to Six Flags Great America in seasons past, was that I could see the train station and I could actually get on and ride from Hometown Square if I felt like. I normally didn't do that. I normally start over at County Fair. But just the stage, it's so big for Ignite Grand Finale that it ruins the aesthetic of the small town that is representative of like the early 1940s or maybe even back in like the 1890s. I'm not entirely sure when they're truly trying to go for at Six Flags Great America, but a more simpler time. The Grand Music Hall has been slightly altered in order to accommodate projectors for Ignite Grand Finale, and the way that they did it actually makes it look like it was part of the original design for Grand Music Hall, so that actually looks wonderful. Sadly, they took out the gazebo in order to put out an almost, I want to say, almost 100-foot catwalk for Ignite. And basically, a giant white structure does not seem like it actually belongs in Hometown Square. It really does not, to be honest with you folks. Then, of course, we have Whizzer, which is a phenomenal Anton Schwarzkopf roller coaster, and the last one of its kind, if I remember correctly. I think they finally tore out the one over at California's Great America. So, sadly, and by finally, I mean I think it happened about 10 years ago. But it is still one of the best roller coasters to begin with. And it's just a great roller coaster in general. I absolutely love the layout of the ride, and the way that the train moves through the trees is breathtaking. It's a beautiful, beautiful ride. And then, of course, we have Carousel Plaza, which, as I had already mentioned, is practically perfect in its theming because it gives you what you desire. There's a carousel in the plaza. There's not much more that you could ask for with that name. You've got the Pictorium, which has the world's largest screen. Continuous one-sheet screen, that is. And ultimately, besides the original posters for each one of the lands that had originally opened up with the theme park of Six Flags Great America in 1976, those have started to be kind of obscured by shops and little eateries, almost, sadly. But you have Skytrek Tower, which gives you a great bird's eye view of the park, and I honestly just can never really get enough of being able to look at that reflecting pool as I'm looking towards Columbia Carousel, which is brilliantly designed by Randall Duell Associates. I just can't say enough about that, so I'm just going to be quiet because honestly I'm going to rant, and I don't think we need to go and rant much longer because I've only done theming so far. I haven't yet gone on to cleanliness, which is our next one. Six Flags Great America is proud to call itself the cleanest theme park in the world. And I did that little pause there because, well, honestly, I was trying to figure out the next sequenter. Didn't happen. But what I can say is that Six Flags Great America, it is a clean park. There's not much in terms of trash lying around. There's not much in terms of dirt or grime. But I'm going to be honest. There are things that can definitely use touch-ups. The paint scheme can be redone on most attractions and buildings. I know that that's not what they mean by cleanliness, or when they say cleanest theme park in the world, but if you're not showing me that the buildings themselves are clean, then I don't really have much faith that you can show that the pathways and the restrooms can be clean then, if you can't keep up building maintenance. But almost every time that I go to a restroom at Six Flags Great America, there's usually some sort of puddle at the base of every single stall that I'm in, or there's some sort of basically not puddle, but I mean, with the stalls there's a puddle, but there's some sort of lack of cleaning supplies, whether it be paper towels or soap for your washrooms, or even, and this is kind of a big pet peeve of mine, even where the faucets happen to be just so very, very close to the actual edge of the sink on the inside that you can barely even put your hand underneath it without touching the back. There's so much things that I don't know that other people could be touching that I now have to touch because I'm touching the back of the bowl for the sink, just because you can't get your hand underneath in order to get water. Usually the trash cans are up to the rim. They're not overflowing, but I've generally not seen any type of person or janitorial staff trying to get rid of the trash, except for about an hour before the park closes. Then I can see the big, huge mobile dumpsters wheeling around the park, which, I mean, it's a good thing that you want to get clean, and I appreciate that. I really do. I want a clean theme park. But I also kind of want it to be done in secret, almost. Disney and Universal and Busch Gardens, they seem to be kind of at the top of the game when it comes to that type of thing. For example, at Disney, I accidentally dropped one of my park guides, and before I could actually reach down and pick it up, it was already gone. I don't know where the guy came from, or lady, but it was gone. Now, that's very nice. Nobody else had to see my pamphlet ruining what would be a glorious themed area at the Disney World Resort. However, I mean, it was a little bit inconvenient for me that I had to go and find a new pamphlet very, very quickly. Not that I need one, because I'm pretty good at finding my way through theme parks. By pretty good, I mean I'm really good. But ultimately, I'd kind of like to have a little bit of that type of experience with Six Flags Great America, where I can just go, man, this is a clean garbage can. I don't know when they had time to go and actually get to this. Or, wow, I don't have to worry about getting water all over myself just from having to use the restroom. That is wonderful. Or whatever that is as a puddle in the stall. I don't know. I don't want to find out. So next up is guest relations. And guest relations is always a little bit of a tough thing to kind of evaluate. The main reason why it's tough to evaluate is because guest relations change so very much on a day-to-day basis. Like, for example, one day you could be having an absolutely wonderful, wonderful time where every single host has just been making your day, asking you how, rides have been, what shows you've seen. If you haven't seen a particular show, recommending a show. You just getting all the information that you absolutely want, and without having any type of, oh, seriously, you don't know where that is? Type of mentality. To me, that's something that Six Flags does pretty well. Because most days, I can have that type of experience. However, maybe on the days where I haven't had the type of experience, it's just been a couple of bad eggs that just really don't care and are there for a paycheck. I'm not entirely sure, but ultimately, I think maybe 3 out of every 4 days that I go there, I've had some pretty darn good guest relations where they've been asking me those type of things, or when I do ask that type of thing of them, they're more than happy to tell me where I need to go, who I need to see, or even what the next attraction I might want to go and see or try out. So ultimately, for me, guest relations is pretty high up there. It's not the greatest, but not everybody can have the greatest. But Six Flags Great America is more than passable with their guest relations. And then you have entertainment, and by golly, there's a lot to do there. As I had pretty much mentioned every single ride during my explanation of the park theming, I didn't really explain what those rides truly are, but ultimately, Six Flags Great America probably has about 15, maybe 20 flat rides, which are rides that are close to the ground. They have a central base for where the ride vehicles attach, and they basically they don't go on a track. But you load everybody at one time, and it goes and does its thing. You have 4 water rides. I always forget Buccaneer Battle. And they're great for getting wet on. Absolutely great. Especially Roaring Rapids and Buccaneer Battle for getting wet. But in terms of sheer thrills, Loggers Run, Yankee Clipper are going to be the best choices for that type of thing with water rides. You have, I believe it's 14 roller coasters. So that's really good. I mean, you can't really go wrong with 13 roller coasters. We got rid of Iron Wolf. Yeah. Sorry, I just absolutely love that ride, and I still imagine it in its spot. But all those roller coasters range from junior coasters all the way up to your advanced riders. So there's a great roller coaster thrill range. And then, of course, you have shows. Well, I did show you Madcap Mardi Gras, and I also showed you Ignite Grand Finale. But I did not show you the 2 that were actually in the Grand Music Hall this year, which were Dancing in the Streets and Reflections, Sounds of the 60s. Sadly, I somehow, every time that I tried to go and record either one of those shows, did not have enough battery power or memory in my camera. So I apologize for that. Reflections is a kind of musical medley of songs from the 1960s, and it's a well-produced show. I think that you're going to enjoy the song selections. Sadly, again, I don't have video of that show. And Dancing in the Street was another musical medley show, but this one was with songs from the 1980s, and I ultimately liked that one more, mainly because they were songs that I personally grew up with. I mean, my parents would play, back when I was a kid, they would do the songs from the 1960s on 97.3, not 97.3, what was it, 96.7, I think it was WZTR. And, I mean, I really enjoyed those songs, but they just did not have the same, like, energy levels as the 1980 music that I grew up with. Or that I more associate with, I should say. So I personally prefer Dancing in the Street over Reflections, sounds of the 60s. Madcap Mardi Gras was a crazy kids show. It doesn't really have too much in terms of theatrical stylings, and ultimately, to me, while some of the songs are catchy, it just seems a little bit over the top. The actors, they're trying to sell it for the people on Roaring Rapids, rather than trying to sell it for the people that are right there and then watching the show. So their expressions are just way too over-exaggerated, and it hampers the show a lot, I think. Then you have Ignite Grand Finale, which to me is quite possibly the best show that Six Flags Great America has ever put on outside of Love at First Fright. And I absolutely adore Ignite Grand Finale. It happens to be... It just left me with such an upbeat ending to my day at Six Flags Great America every time that I saw it. And sorry folks, I'm about to cough. But it was the first time that Six Flags Great America had ever decided to do anything on this scale, with huge projection screen, dozens of dancers, singing, pyrotechnics, and it ultimately is, as I said, quite possibly the best show that Six Flags Great America has ever produced. I honestly can't really find the words to express how I feel about that show. It was just so wonderful. So ultimately, if I have to do a ranking, which I do, because I am the theme park evaluator, for theming, why do I keep going over here? I like over here. This is the better side, the left side. Maybe that's because I'm looking at the camera, and the left is the right, and the right is the left. But over here on the left side, for theming, we got... It's a good theming, but I'm going to have to say 2.5 stars. I honestly can't go any higher than 2.5, just because many of the places just don't have that great of theming. Sorry. Number 2 is going to be cleanliness. And cleanliness, I honestly can't go any higher, again, than a 2.5. Just because Six Flags Great America, it is clean. It is above average on clean. And that's why I'm going to give it above average for its actual score. But it just does not get close to what I would call perfect, like Disney or Universal or even Busch Gardens. At least the ones that I've, or at least when I've gone to them. And ultimately, I can't give them any higher than 2.5. I'm sorry. Next, we have guest relations. And as I had said earlier, 3 out of 4 times that I would go to Six Flags throughout this season, I'd have really great guest relations. So that's an easy one. 3 out of 4. What else? I mean, what other kind of math would you like me to do with that one, huh? 3 out of 4. And then you have entertainment. And I've got to be honest with you folks, I enjoyed Reflections. I thought that it was a well-produced show. I thought that it was well acted. It just was not my cup of tea. Okay? So I can't fault the show for not being my cup of tea. Then we have... my brain's have gone stupid. Right. Then we had Ignite, which is just a brilliant show, and I absolutely enjoyed it, and will probably enjoy that for years to come, as I'm certain they're probably going to keep that show. So, I mean, ultimately, besides Madcap Mardi Gras, which to me wasn't that great, again, not because of the actual styling of the show, which I know is meant for kids. I think that it's mainly just one of those things where they overacted it too much. So ultimately, I mean, with Madcap Mardi Gras, Dancing in the Street, that, again, being my favorite of the two in the Grand Music Hall over Reflections, and then we have, Ignite. Oh, I forgot to mention that Kick It Up was in the Snowshoe Tap House. That one was also a pretty good produced show. Ultimately, again, for the most part, besides Madcap Mardi Gras, I think they were all very well produced. Ignite was phenomenal. So I'm going to have to give Six Flags Great America a 3.5 for entertainment. I mean, what more can you say? And that overall, to me, then means that Six Flags Great America has a 3 for this 2013 season. I want to thank you all so very much for watching, and you folks take care. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye now.
It takes us a moment to spend special.